I don't know how to gavel here. All right, call our meeting to order. Mrs. Claire, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, moving right along, it's time for public comment. Very little public and no comment, so.
We did a preemptive strike on the public comment. We're gonna take care of it tomorrow.
Okay. All right. No further ado, item number 4, presentation and discussion, superintendent evaluation.
Brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen. This is an exciting.
I have a couple questions first.
Okay?
Well, the way this reads is superintendent provides update. Well, first of all, we need this to be very successful for you and the district. But it says, the way this first sentence reads is that, I don't know if it should read, it reads that you should convene the meeting. I don't know if that's accurate. But then there was no time period on, like, you give us the evidence prior to convening the meeting. And then the second sentence is, the board president collects questions from the board and provides the superintendent prior to the meeting.
Mike did that, I can show you.
I never got any communication from the board president. Did everyone else?
You're looking at it.
Yeah, I didn't sure.
Well, it was like in August, wasn't it August when you sent something out?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a couple months ago. And Mike, and some people responded, and I actually had it logged here. I can show you where it's at.
okay, I guess I would like to make a suggestion then for the December, is like, you provide a written update to the board, but like with a date that we're to expect that. And I don't know if that's in the December meeting. And I guess this is my misunderstanding, but I'm like, I don't have anything to ask him questions about based on the evidence that you're giving us. So I misunderstood.
Did you
all of
have the
this.
opportunity to look and review the informal update that I sent out?
In August? Or when are we talking, August?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
I guess I'll go back and look at it.
Yeah, so let me show you first how to get there, and then we'll actually get to a couple of those questions, Jan. So Office 365 is the main element that you are going to click on to actually get to all the evidence we're going to share tonight. And what I provided for you, we sent back in August. I sent you a copy of the directions of how to access SharePoint. It's kind of a 6-step process. We also sent you visual pictures of what the screens will look like. And then we shared with you the format of the informal update, okay? So we want to click on SharePoint, that's right here. And then, I mean, honestly, I really suggest that you spend some time looking at this, and you'll see how robust it is once I get there. Because doing it in a forum like this, with all the evidence we're submitting, I mean, I'm not going to go through all of it. It's just an exhaustive amount of research to do. But I really think it's a great process because it gives the board, over the course of the year, so much more information than what our old evaluation system ever did, okay? And it literally lasts the entire year as opposed to a 2-week window of trying to look at all the evidence and make determinations. So click on SharePoint, then Lapeer Community Schools team site, click on that. Then you're going to go over here in the left-hand column to public folders. That's number 5 on the piece of paper I just handed you. You guys all have a copy of this, so it's right at your table. And then you're going to go down to school board. And then what you see here, if you recall, you were given a copy of the superintendent evaluation model. And then every single area that is identified for me to be evaluated on is in the table of contents. You'll find a corresponding folder right here. So if you recall from our board training, when we had the MASB trainer out and we talked about evaluation, she mentioned that, you know, that having an electronic storage area for all this evidence was probably the way to go, and that she didn't recommend that I provide evidence in every single category, although I've done it, okay? Just because it's really easy for me to cut and paste and put in there to show you what we're doing, and so I'm not duplicating things. So for example, You'll see governance and board relations, community relations up there, instructional leadership, determining professional practice, business and finance, progress towards district goals, student growth, and then what I've also included in here are all of the updates. So the informal update is in there. That was submitted as of August 31st. And if you click on it, you'll see this. So in each area, governance and board relations, what I did in the middle column here is what is the related district goal? You'll recognize this sheet. This is all of our district goals. And then what is the narrative or evidence that I'll be providing in each category? So you reviewed that back in August. And then you'll recall that Mike reached out to the board and said, what questions might you have for Matt based on this? Submit those to me. Okay, and then he'll take a look at compiling them. And so what we did, Mike did and sent it to me, is he's actually posted something on here called School Board Member Questions. So you click on that, there's a document uploaded, we open it, and it says here, the evidence is great. These are 2 suggestions submitted by board members. The evidence is great, however, I'd like to see a narrative in essay format to show how all the pieces of the evaluation come together. What are your priorities? What projects are you working on? What excites you most about our direction? And the second question or suggestion was, would like to see a place where board member questions about any topic are posted so we can keep track of the status of them. So that's going to be right here. So if you just go to that part of the main page where it says school board member questions, any of you can go on there because you have access and add to that document or add your own suggestions, right? So it's interactive, so anytime you guys upload something, I'll go on there that day and I'll see it. So if you have a question, the nice thing though is what will happen is probably the suggestion I have is probably communicate with Mike. He'll be kind of the gatekeeper, if you will, because we don't want 17 different questions on here and 5 of them are the same. Right, so Denise, you have an idea, you call Mike and say, hey Denise, don't worry about it. Peggy already made that suggestion, it's on there, go on the SharePoint, go on to the site and you'll see it there. Okay.
So if we send to Mike and then Mike uploads it, does it automatically notify you that there's something up there?
No, I go on pretty
You
much
just
every
look at
day.
it, okay.
I mean, Peggy, basically, when I show you the evidence that I've dumped in here, it shows you the date. Like every other day I'm going in there and just putting stuff that I
And
utilize.
that makes a lot of sense to keep everything, organized and this whole process of keeping things in that
In the
order.
little compartment.
Very much like what they talked about when the MASB was here.
Well, and the other thing is that if you recall, every other time we sat down for my summative evaluation, I'm going back to the beginning of the year, trying to drag stuff out. You had forgotten about it, I had forgotten about it. It's not relevant, right? So what we try to do is every single thing that we do in this district, whether it's me directing Michelle to do it or it's an HR initiative, if it connects to this goal and it's part of my evaluation, I'll put a copy of that document in there and you guys can actually see the PD plan that we're giving to the principals or survey feedback from teachers, right? So you're going to see the actual nuts and bolts of everything we're doing as opposed to some contrived document that I put together that's you're going to see the actual primary source documents in here. So
So we email a question to Mike, because it looks like we couldn't add a question that's PDF.
right, so you would upload another document. So
Oh.
under board member questions,
Okay.
you would click on that and upload another document.
Oh,
So we save it as a Word file and it's up there. And then I can see what date it was added. This was added September 6th.
Okay.
So if we went into progress towards district goals, a broad category, right? There's a lot of them. There's 3 district goals, there are several standards and benchmarks. And so what I've done is a couple presentations that we gave to the board I put in here. We just gave a recent presentation on assessment data. That PowerPoint data, that PowerPoint presentation is saved in here. So you might think, oh man, that was a great presentation Michelle gave. Where do I go to get that? I put it in here. Okay. We've also looked at things like our multi-tiered systems of support, and I've actually put the board goal and benchmark and standard that it's actually meeting. So we said, here's a great example, from we're going to go to our read at home plan. And this was in the third grade reading bill. So if you recall, the goal is 80% of third grade students will be proficient in reading as measured by state adapted assessments. Part of that was to develop a take-home reading plan. So how are we doing that? Okay, this is the LCS Literacy Center Read at Home plan. These headings, and this is what is shared with teachers and principals and learning coaches. So yeah, I'm not going to read all this information. I can't even read it up there. So this is just a tease to get you to go in and see what are we actually doing. This heading up here identifies non-negotiables for our Read at Home plan. This middle heading says additional program details, possibilities for teachers to consider, and then it also includes an implementation timeline, right? So we said we had goals here, standards, benchmarks, baseline data, percentage improvement, the measurement tool, and how frequently we're going to evaluate whether or not we're meeting that goal. You're actually seeing that in action. So how is Matt and the team getting it, achieving that third grade reading bill? It's right here. Right, so by linking it, by me identifying what district goal it links to, if I'm you, and I'm looking to see if you're evaluating me, you're going to have the superintendent evaluation rubric in front of you. All right, it's going to say progress toward district goals. You're going to be able to look at the language that identifies me as either effective, highly effective, ineffective, or minimally effective. You're going to look at your district goal document, okay, and say, okay, what did Matt and the team say they were going to do? And then you're going to look at this evidence. And you're going to say, is this the kind of stuff we want the superintendent to be engaged in? Right? Is this stuff going to actually work? So what we've also done, if you go in here, some of this is process stuff, but we also have to have actual numbers. Okay? So what is this one here? Right, so here we go. So this is, I'll go back down and see what it is. This is district goal 1, 2B. And just to refresh your memory, I know you haven't memorized them all yet, Mr. Nolan.
What made you think that?
1, 2B, we said 100% of students will have successfully completed a college or career education course such as dual enrollment, enrolled in early middle college, advanced placement, and or career and technical education. Now, we had to refine this goal because we think that in a student's 4-year high school career, we want 100% of kids at some point in the 4 years. So I had Doug and the counseling team at the high school pull this data for me. Right now, out of approximately 1,263 high school age students, we have 325 who are dual enrolled. That represents 27.2%. In the early college, 90 students, that represents 7.5%. 445 students taking AP courses, 211 enrolled in Ed Tech, for a total, no duplicates, 801 students. That represents 67.1% of our students are getting towards this goal. That's a 1-year snapshot. So if I ask Doug, look at all high school students right now. So you may have a junior that took an AP class as a sophomore, or dual enrolled as a sophomore, but's not selecting to do that as a junior. This goal is saying at some point in the student's 4-year high school career, they're challenging themselves with rigor. So this tells you, as of right now, 67.1% of our kids are enrolled in this. The goal is 100. So at the end of this year, I want to update this with second semester numbers, and you should see a climb. But as of right now, the beauty of this system is, this is all time stamped. It's all time and date stamped. So you know that Matt uploaded a piece of evidence for goal 1-2B 11 hours ago. And when a 24-hour cycle elapses, it'll say, whatever today's date is, October 19th. Okay? So
Can I just ask a didactic question on the goals? If we say 100%, you're talking freshman, sophomore, and junior, senior. But would freshmen be ever at middle college?
we have freshmen that can take an AP course.
They could take an AP course, but
Yeah.
is it realistic to say every freshman, if you're looking at this moment in time, is putting those freshmen in there compromising some of your data?
No, is what we're asking, what we're gonna do, Peg, this is just, it's a good question, it's two pieces, it's 2 data points, right? So
Right.
this is a snapshot in time, how many of our high school kids out of X are engaged in one of these 4, 5, 6 areas.
Right.
A second metric is looking at all high school students at some point in their career
Okay.
here
And,
have been engaged in one of these, these activities.
and is that goal right there, 1.2, point three?
Yes.
But the way this reads, it doesn't read during their high school career. It gets like a snapshot in time.
Mhm.
But you would only have high school students in any of those 5 things.
Yep.
You wouldn't ever have a middle schooler doing.
No, but, okay. So this is an ongoing goal.
So one thing we have to remember, Jan, is that when we did the goal development process, so.
I'm a nurse, so, and that's how we do goals, like, we have a projected date, we want to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, and
We
you'll see
don't.
that, you'll see the frequency of evaluation that
Right, but
happens.
I'm going more narrow into January 17 and June of 18. That's where my mind goes with the goal of this,
Okay?
just so you understand why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
So is this just for this school year, this goal? Or is this a goal we have developed for 2018-19?
So,
Follow me on that?
yes and no, because every year we'll reevaluate, as we
Okay.
discussed in the goal process, every year the goals are reevaluated,
Okay.
right? Rewritten, refined, right? Because at a moment in time, that's the goal.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
So,
it's a ton. It's
Yeah,
a ton of
it's
stuff.
sorting it
There's a
all out.
lot of going, so it's gonna take time, right? It's gonna take time to go in here, but, you know, these are very robust goals, okay? So for me, and I agree with the board member who made the suggestion on the narrative piece, I think that's an important component to this. Okay, Matt, how do we tie all of this together? But it is incumbent on the board to dive in and do the work of looking at the evidence that I provided, so there's some context for the narrative, right? I mean, I can make it sound great, but I'm really less interested in wordsmithing something than I am about having you guys actually have access to the real-time data that we're working with every day.
are we sharing this also? Can staff come in and look at this? Or is this only going to be school board?
So this is for your login, so this is specific
For
to
our
your login,
login,
and
okay.
not every staff member has access to every folder.
Okay, but they could look at some of the folders?
I don't think they can get into the school board folder at all. Yeah.
Okay,
I think that when they set it up, it was just,
but they have other folders that would have the district goals
Yeah,
and.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so there's an area they can
That
go
they
look
can
at
access, that they go, and
and
we,
say, this is what we need to cover, this is
You got it.
where we're at.
you got it. The one thing I wanted to show you guys, because this is cool stuff. When we talk about staff relations. So staff relations has several folders in it already, but we gave an opening day professional development session. And Michelle and her team, all of us, planned the PD. It was delivered by multiple people, but we got instantaneous feedback from the staff on what they saw. This is unfiltered data. So you're gonna get the good, the bad, the ugly of what the PD
So-
was, and you can actually click on this.
When you said you got instant feedback, like after they got done with their class or at the end of the day, they
Yeah,
did
they got a
that?
link the following day and they filled it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So you click on that survey data, it opens up, and you can actually look at what the staff said about our PD. So instead of me saying, hey, the PD was great, everybody loved it, you go in and you dive in and you look at everything, right? So when we talk about evidence, so I talked about staff relations, evidence, labor relations, LEA. So this is a copy of an email that went out. This is my LEA monthly meeting schedule. So now you know every single date that I meet with LEA leadership. Okay? We also have staff relations, labor relations, and this is an email that went out from Karen to every single union president. So you can read the communications that I'm having with union leadership, because we're going to meet 4 times a year, Kim and I, with every single union president, right? So you may hear something, well, you know, Matt doesn't meet with any of the union leaders, he doesn't even know what's going on. Well, you know, I see this evidence that on his calendar, and I saw the email, and, you know, I don't know what the meetings are what fruit they're bearing, if any, but I do see that, you know, there's evidence, and I want to, you know, it's right there in front of you, right? So you have the opportunity to go into each one of these things. So we look at staff relations, our PLC process. So we actually, with our administrators, walk through a collaboration process of how they can get their staff to collaborate more effectively in the PLC meetings. So you guys hear that phrase all the time, collaboration session, PLC, what does it mean? Well, here's an actual document that we did at K-12 yesterday to help our principals understand how to best set up a collaboration system. You've never seen anything like this before in terms of relative to my evaluation. So how is Matt leading the staff as it relates to getting the staff to collaborate more effectively? So I just dump that in there under staff relations as evidence, and then you can, what I try to do every time is connect it to a related district goal or evidence language that's contained inside of the rubric that you're going to be looking at to evaluate. Okay? And remember, the system is, I will provide a narrative kind of summation at the very end of all of this, identify where I think, you know, kind of a self-evaluation, but you have all the evidence you need to make a determination. And then as a group, you will discuss my evaluation and come up with a final, you won't do it as individuals like we've done before, which I think is a lot better because there's a lot of conversation that can happen out around that.
I had kind of an interesting thought or question. Is for you going through this process in the last couple of months and having you very organized and very detailed, what kind of impact does it have coming back on you to change the way, you know, you see things or do things? How does it improve you? Because I would think in a way it's training your own mind to be very detail oriented. You know, there's so many goals, so much data. Like you said, you forget things, forget conversations, but I would think this way is training your mind to think in these categories.
I honestly, Wendy, I absolutely love it. I love it. And I really didn't think I would. Like when I first saw we're at the training, it was very overwhelming. I'm thinking, but honestly, the fact that we've identified the measurement tool and the frequency of evaluation for every single goal, it's, you know, when Karen came up to me, she's like, well, it's October, time for your update. I'm like, we just gave him an update in August. Like, I don't want to do an update. And she gave me that look. And I said, okay, I'll do the update. But honestly, what it did is I combed through every goal, and I had to think, what have we done in the first 6 weeks that supports us getting to this goal? And some good, some bad, some in the middle, but I'm engaging in people that are helping me produce this information, right? It's not just Matt running around doing all these goals. So I asked Doug, I said, Doug, I want some metrics on the number of kids that are participating in AP, dual, middle college, and tech per goal 1.2B. He goes, great, can I have 4 days to put it together? Yeah? And so what's also happening, in goal development is a science, right? When people start diving into this, they may say things like, man, I know we said 80%, but I don't think it's going to happen, and here's why. Well, if it's not going to happen because it's a lack of will, that's one thing. If it's not going to happen because there's a lack of resources or some other impediment, that's a really good thing to learn this early in the process. So we make a mental note, we say, okay, this part worked, this part didn't, we may have to make some adjustments. So now instead of setting a district goal, a broad mission, vision statement, and then evaluating it in June, I'm evaluating it in October. Right? We presented this to the staff, they were part of it, the board was part of it, Colt was part of it. We established the goals. Now we're evaluating this stuff literally every day. And that's very powerful to me as a leader, and I honestly wish I would have been evaluated like this more, because it's actually made me a little more on top of it, quite frankly. So each of the updates are in here, the timeline, so kind of all the nuts and bolts that you'll need. Okay, what's that timeline again? When's the next time we're gonna hear from Matt? It's right here. Here's the formal update, so I put things in here like, we look at student growth evidence. I put the assessment data PowerPoint in there. That's, we present, I'm not gonna recreate a document. We have a 20-slide PowerPoint replete with every graph and every possible metric the board will need to look at in here. So here's the PowerPoint. Go through it, right? What did we say? What did it look like? Here it is. Go through it all over again. I know you don't get to look at that stuff enough. You're welcome.
I think it is. It provides so much more information that we're doing more broad focus. This is really creating more specific.
Really finite.
Yeah.
But it's important, I think, to remember, Peggy, that when you're doing this and when you're looking at it, everything is in the context of the goals,
Right.
the district goals, and juxtapose that with the language contained in the rubric. Because you may look at the evidence and say, Matt, that's just not getting to it. And then, as a board member suggestion or question, say, in review of governance and board relations evidence, Matt, I saw you put something in there, I don't understand that. Can you offer some clarification? Which will help me in the update. The next time I give the update, if I'm looking at 5 or 6 or 7 board member questions, I can then tailor it to get at any ambiguity that's there in your mind. You said that, but I said-
I didn't say anything, I just looked at my emails and I did not get an email in August regarding this.
Was that before November?
No, I have them all.
Or was it before that?
I pulled it up on my phone and I tried to pull it.
I don't,
So yeah, I was gonna throw out an idea here, I'm gonna think this out loud, and I don't know if it would be a good idea, if you like it or not, but, so for me, it's a lot of information, and I am glad it's there. I mean, for what it's doing for you, it makes great sense, but it is a lot. So, of course, I'm the one that suggested the Meredith, English teacher, I figured that anyway, but it's.
I had my suspicions.
And it wasn't really just some like speech at the end of the year, but it's almost to me like if you went through this, quarterly, like what you're doing, you're looking at the school and thinking, oh, why we're not at 60% because we don't have the resources. To me, it's almost like creating a document where you say to us, I've looked into this area and we are lagging here because of these reasons, and this is what we're doing to shore that up. And in this area, we're exceeding because we're doing this. So for me, it's like you are summarizing for us the big picture, because for us, I can go in and look at and be overwhelmed. Oh, here's a PowerPoint, and here's this. But you're in the thick of it day in and day out. So it's almost like a document that just, you're summarizing for us.
I like that.
Here's what's going on strong, here's what's kind of we need to shore up, here's what we're doing. And it doesn't have to be some huge document. I think it could just be a paragraph that kind of puts it all together.
Yeah.
And for you, it might be helpful too, because as part of the process, it does make you take stock of the big picture, and bring it all together in a way.
I think the team would say I look at the big picture enough, and they want me to get more specific, but I like that because if anything, you could look at, okay, if we're exceeding a goal, you may as a board member, use your time to say, okay, I'm not gonna dive into that particular folder right now, but if Matt identified it as maybe we're falling short a little bit, let me go in and see what the evidence is.
Yeah, like you say, our center reading scores aren't where they need to be despite all that we've done, the literacy centers and all this, so now we're looking at this to shore those scores up.
Well, and you have a lot of 100%. Is 100%, supposedly at some point, every child's going to be at 100% on their scores. Where do we reach? I think we have to be honest that 100% is not everything. And I think, that's the question I had with the data on the high school students. Is it realistic to say every child in that 4-year period of time could try those classes on?
Sure.
Maybe that's even, no matter what opportunities you provide, they're not there.
Yeah.
And when it's offered, they can't do. So
That's
I think we want to, it sounds wonderful to say 100%, but it's not life.
And if you
None of
recall,
us are
you're
100%.
right. If you recall, when we ran this process through all the different groups, a lot of those percentages and targets changed because of that. So for example, some of these are 3-year goals, some are in isolation of 1 year and they'll be reevaluated at the end of the year. For the third grade reading bill, if you look at the baseline data, we're at 50% proficient. It says, what's our percent improvement? It's 10% each year. So if the goal is 80, you know it's a 3-year goal, right? 3 years of 10 puts us at 80. So you're right in this fact, it's got to be, and there are standards to write a goal. It's got to be attainable, right? You know, but it has to stretch our thinking a little bit. We have to have the right resources available to help the teachers or the principals or whoever we're asking to meet it. You know, I couldn't say, by the end of first semester, I want 100% of kids to be enrolled in dual enroll.
We can dual enroll them.
Great goal, not necessarily attainable. So don't forget, the teachers, the principals, the whole team, the board looked at all of these, offered input, insight. This is a very fluid document, though.
Yeah.
But we thought, you know, I think, and if you dive into the baseline data, you'll see, okay, we're at 64% proficiency. The target is 80% in the next 2 years. It'll say it right in there. Okay, can we do, you know, 8, 9, 10% a year to get there in 2 years?
And you know, as we have more data input and we have more trends to analyze, I think the goals will become more realistic. Because if you have like information on the pre-SAT, we can see how our students fared on that. Then we can say, all right, if we're going to raise the bar a little bit, so when they take the SAT, what do we have to do between now and then? So rather than just guessing at numbers, or we'll start to see trends like this is trending upward. So let's see now if we can't get another 3%.
Yeah.
It won't just be, hey, let's pick 80. It'll be like, we'll see our numbers as they progress.
But I also think, hopefully, people will decide we're not going to change these tests every 5 years. And then suddenly we're at a whole new focus, which means we're never going to be comparing anything at the same level. Let's have some consistency. Because I think that is very frustrating for the public as well as the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want us to know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever somebody so decides.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of discussion in the community relations arena. You know, what is our footprint out there in terms of public relations, PR? So we've collected some metrics in terms of social media. You know, how many sessions are people logging into lapeerschools.org? How many users? How many Facebook users do we have? And this is as of a couple days ago. How many Twitter users? So we have some actual metrics to look at. But we also look at kind of traditional media. So we put a couple articles in there that I scanned and put in there from County Press. This one was on the literacy centers. We've got one on the changes that are happening in our district and the opening day coverage they gave us. So I'll just input stuff like this, any sort of media attention we get, positive, negative, whatever it is, but interaction with the community in a variety of ways. So start thinking about when you look at the evidence, you may see, that's great, Matt, but I'm interested in seeing it in this format, right? So the format, how I present the evidence, you may have suggestions in that regard. So we're all new to this. You know, we're all kind of feeling our way through it, but it's a tool that you really have to spend a little bit of time on. You know, I like the narrative piece, Wendy, I like that suggestion, I'm going to do that, but I really, really just urge you to kind of dig in and dive into the evidence. It's good stuff. And it's historical, so, you know, I gave you the update in August. There's a copy of it right there, you know, so you can see how it progresses. I'm going to go in tomorrow, even though I've completed the formal update requirement, and I'm going to go back and look at all this stuff and write a narrative. I mean, I'm just going to, per the suggestion, hey, we're on track, we're progressing, we're exceeding expectations at this point, but we've really challenged our staff. And Michelle and I have been meeting all week with our principals in their initial evaluation for the school year. People are starting to see the connection between the district goals, their own evaluation, the learning coach plans, collaboration, school improvement, the curriculum pilots that we worked on, right? They're starting to see how common the language is. And technology has really aided us in that. I'm being evaluated using a very similar format to how our teachers are being evaluated. if our principals are being evaluated, and I think we have to be consistent in how we evaluate our professional staff. It's been 3 pretty separate processes in the past, now they're very uniform. So you've got, and when you go into Office 365, it's your district login. It's your email address and your current login, and this is the steps to get in. So when you've got some free time or you want to spend a Saturday evening diving into evidence, get a bucket of popcorn and get the whole family around the computer, and let's make a night of it. I mean, let's really show, you know, Jan's gonna show her new grandchildren, you know, this is what grandma does. And just sit that Jack in your lap and just start clicking and pointing and, so good stuff, I like the suggestions, but this is how to get there. Any questions how to get there, email me directly or Karen and we'll get you there. But here's the great thing, even if you can't do it tomorrow, the evaluation timeline, right, is here. So I will submit another informal update in December, and we'll do the kind of the final piece in March. So you've got from now till, you know, January, February to really just kind of go in. And I'm going to try not to overwhelm it. I don't want you to put out a folder and have 40 PowerPoints to look through, right? But I do want to provide enough because it's not simple enough to just put it in narrative form only. There's just too much.
So in December then, what would that update look like?
So that's informal. That would be a written update to the board, much like the narrative form. Board president shares superintendent any specific concerns or questions from the board. So what will happen is, I kind of like the fluidity of this, Wendy. So let's say in mid-November, Mike sends out a reminder, hey, go on to SharePoint. If you have any questions for Matt or anything you want to see in his update, you know, either email him or call him. I'll add those questions to that shared folder. Mike will let me know they're there, and I will start to craft a narrative. It won't look like this, right? It'll look a little bit more like the first update I gave you, which is this, in narrative form, and I'll go through each category, business and finance, and I'll give you a kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down, or right here, and then also I can say, you know, see this piece of evidence in that folder, right? But like, for example, business and finance doesn't have anything in it right now because I'm going to submit the audit report. I'm going to put the audit report in there as part of the evidence. Why not? You see it once a year. Now you have access to it for the remainder of this evaluation. And I know that's an exciting process.
That's where our popcorn comes up.
Yeah. The audit document. So hopefully you'll find this tool useful. It's very, very simple to use, guys. It really is. You go into upload. So if you want to upload a document, you click on upload, click on files, and it searches your computer, and you just click on what you want to add. It's pretty simple.
I just want to make sure as you go through this process, though, I think sort of what I picked up from some of the others is I'm not looking for you to be involved in busy work. When I click on these things, I don't want to be involved in busy work. This kind of thing, when you're in that much detail, it's I'm the guy to, you know, swirl. I'll run off and chase this one and then that one, and then, you know, then I find myself sitting there, okay, you gave it to me, I'm going to read it. And sometimes that's not always everybody's benefit. So
When you read something?
yeah, I give you all that detail, I'm going to read the detail. So, I mean,
Dang it, Mike read that.
there are.
I'll say this, what you see in here, Mike, is a lot of cut and paste, right? I am not generating a lot of work. So I don't look at it as busy work. What these are very gentle, yet not so gentle, reminders of me to maintain focus. If I was in here, if I was handwriting all this stuff and calculating all this data, it would be busy work. Because I don't have time for that, just for reporting's sake.
Right.
Right? But this is very, like I'm going over progress towards board goals. Okay, I'm in this one. Oh. So progress towards the goals. I said, Michelle, email me everything we did on MTSS. She did. I clicked on it, I saved it, I uploaded it. Because I knew it was good stuff. And it's exactly what we're doing. You know, I emailed Bob Downing, send me your board presentation, because that was on district goal, that was in the reading goal.
You know, it's nice too to have
Upload
like these archives for the future. We're not all gonna be here
No.
forever, you know, so the next people can come along and build and see what the people have done before, what worked, what didn't, and have a way to access it easily and quickly in an organized fashion as opposed to coming in, well, here's a binder, and here, you know, and here's folders.
Yeah, look it up.
You know, but somebody can come in and at least focus on maybe on one particular thing and find it, find a history on it.
Yeah.
Geological.
No doubt, yeah. That's all I have.
Anybody any questions?
Adjourn.
Well, there we go, we have a motion to adjourn. Support?
Support.
All right. Moved by Mrs. Bush, supported by Mrs. Byer, Mrs. Becker. Mrs. Byer.
Aye.
Mrs. Levi.
Aye.
Mrs. Bush.
Aye.
Mrs. Aye.